I just started reading Books of the Apocalypse. As I explained in one of my previous videos, all of the prophets, all of the ancestors, all of the faithful just did one on the Shepherd of Hermas. Even your most mundane blue-collar worker has revelations. Our Creator tells us what is to become of things. No matter what service you're in, if you are a servant of His, you will receive visions and foreknowings what's to come. When you've been proven faithful, it's time for you to go. So I started reading this and my jaw just dropped and my heart's pounding in my chest like, why don't they tell us these things? And the understanding came because if you can't choose correctly for the sake of, wow, I don't want to do that because that will bring harm to this person, why would we want you around? Because if you think you can get away with it, you will do it. You have no compunction. This is what you want to do. And so that is what you will do. Also, after I started to reflect, was reminded on what I had come to understand about Joseph being sold as a slave into Egypt, which I will get back to. Also, fear of consequences under threat of horrific punishment places us under duress. And so we are not of sound mind. We are not making our own choices. We are not expressing free will. And so all these fire and brimstone churches, well, they're not working, number one. And number two, people are restraining themselves just for fear of punishment. As soon as it's like, oh, there's no punishment? Oh, well, I wanted to do this, I wanted to do that, so I'm going to go do that. Because they don't care if they hurt people. They just don't want to be hurt themselves. That's the classic narcissist. When they get caught and they suffer consequences, they're not sorry that they did it. They're sorry that they got caught. My father had said that. That was his big lesson to us as children. Do whatever you want in life, just don't get caught. My brother was never good at not getting caught. And what he wanted to do in life was pillage, rape, and steal. So, that's the why of it. Now, just because our Creator says, in the future, your descendants will be slaves in Egypt, it doesn't mean He put them there. It doesn't mean He wanted them to become slaves. It doesn't mean that was part of His grandiose plan. Okay? What happened was they sold their brother Joseph as a slave. So what happens when you sell somebody into slavery? Their children, grandchildren, great generations, their entire family line has been sold into slavery, because the children of slaves are sold as slaves and the grandchildren of slaves are sold as slaves. It becomes their entire family line for the entire future, for all eternity, has been sold into slavery. And so, with the way things work out, for justice to be served, this is a just universe, the descendants of those brothers who sold Joseph into slavery were themselves enslaved. It's what you wanted for somebody else, it's what you got for yourself. And if you read outside of your Cliff Note version of scriptures, which people call the Bible, you will learn that during that time of enslavement, all the tribes of Israel were enslaved other than Joseph's sons' descendants. The tribes of Manasseh and Ephraim, or Ephraim, depending on how you pronounce it, they were building cities in what would become the Promised Land. If you notice, their children, their grandchildren, and great-grandchildren settled into cities that already had their names, because their ancestors, while they were enjoying freedom, and their relatives, their cousins, were all enslaved because their grandparents had sold them into slavery. So the descendants of Joseph were in the Promised Land already, building cities, making names for themselves, planting gardens. When they tried to leave permanently early, yes, they were punished because they tried to leave ahead of their brothers. However, when they finally all left together, they already had an inheritance. They already had fields planted. They already had it made. It could have been so easy for them. So, this answers the question as to why are we not told about what happens when we are separated, the sheep from the goats? There are two earths, one for the righteous, one for the unrighteous. Like, we're going to part ways, and we're going to see one another's true forms before we go. And those of us who have befriended our Creator, have been obedient, have communicated, formed a relationship with Him, we know what is going to happen in the future. Every spring, I get a foreknowing about the season ahead. And I don't always understand it, but it always comes true exactly like I was given. And so He does that. Just before I die, I'm going to see absolutely everything that's going to happen from that point forth, and the place that has been prepared for me. Just like all the fathers, every single one of them had a revelation before they died. And what are we left with? Just one. There's a whole lot more. And the whole lot more is just an affirmation, a reiteration of what has happened, what has been shown to those who have come before us. And it's affirming that we are like them. And so we are related, we are family, and we're going to recognize, know, and appreciate one another when we are united in that kingdom of heaven. So, there you go. This is why we were not told. Because you can't make a sound decision under duress. And because if you're not going to do it just for the sake of not causing harm, we don't need you there anyways. Because you really don't care if you harm anybody else. You don't care if you harm the earth. You don't care if you harm animals. You don't care. All of it, every bit of it is our Creator's body. And He gives it to us freely. The animals you eat, the plants you eat, the water you drink and then pee out, that you corrupt and consume, every bit of it is our Father's body and breath. And if we are one with Him, it is also our body and our breath. So when you harm the earth, you harm our Father, you harm the Son, who you say you worship and you know, and who you believe in, and so you are just saved because you believe he exists and he died and was resurrected. No. And now, you know why you weren't told. And what you're going to face. And this is be given to me to explain to you now, because that door has closed.